So now I'm going to go ahead and run through my setup, what I'm using. Basically, I have a CD brick here, and I have not really made jigs on a form before, or like a jig holder, so I just kind of came up with my own little way real quick. And this is really effective if you're in a bind and you're going up like in a couple of days to go fishing or going to another area, and you find out this is what they're going to be hitting on. You're going to have to make do with what you have. I have a pair of vice locks here, and then also I just used one of my bench clamps and put that to the block, and it's steady enough that I can tie my jigs. Next, I have some 3/8, or actually this is a 1/2 ounce jig heads that I have, and I've taken these, and they are regular jig heads, but I took them and actually hammered them out, hammered it flat, and as you can see, that's closer to the shape of what you want versus what it was before. It was a round jig, and as I said before, the shape of the head is very important because it causes the jig to fall a certain way, and then also it causes the jig to get down to the bottom quicker, and then stay on the bottom. That way you're having the right action that you need. So what we're going to do is take this jig and we're going to clean it up, and then after that repaint it. And I have some paint here. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just a dry paint, a powder paint, and you heat your jig up, dip it in the paint, and then you will light it. In this case, you will light it, and then it will make a hard enamel paint. You can get different colors. I seem to like this color. It's kind of like a watermelon, in between a watermelon and a split pea green, so it's pretty cool. You're gonna need thread to tie your jigs on, to tie the hair on, and then the thread, the weight of the thread and the strength of the thread is not so much important if you're using crazy glue. You'll have some, I got some here, got some crazy glue, so just gonna use a couple dabs of that, and that'll make your jig stay on really nice and tight, especially with the thread. And what I have here is some deer hair. Okay, most people know, a lot of rigs and jigs are made out of deer hair. I have a hide that I keep. I tan my own hides, so I keep my hairs and I keep the hides, and I shave the hair off and use those for my jigs. So in this case, I got some nice brown hair off of a nice white-toed doe, and it's from the white belly. So and some from the brown from the back. The darker hair is on the very ridge of the back. So in this case, I'm going to be using that today. And then I have a hex head Allen wrench, and this is going to be used to clean out the eyes of the jig heads, so you can make sure that once you get out there in the water, you won't have to do that. It's really all simple, and we're going to go over this and get this started. All right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to be doing is taking one of our jig heads and we're going to clean it off. Okay, now you want to do this with just like a Scotch-Brite pad or something like that. You want to get all of the old chip paint off as much as you can, because once you hammer it flat, the paint will actually kind of chip, and because of the jig head is spreading out, so the paint doesn't stay intact. So now I've got my jig head pretty clean for the most part anyways, and I just make sure any loose paint is off, and then I'm going to heat it up. And you can do this with just a lighter or something like that, open flame, whatever have you. A butane torch works a little bit better. One of the pen torches, those work a little bit better because they heat quicker. But if you're in a pinch, in a bind, like I said, a lighter will work just as fine. And you just heat it up for maybe about 15 seconds per side, 10 seconds per side, depending on the size of the jig head. So I'll just try and get that hot, and then I'll drop it right into my paint, hit it a couple of times on the edge, and look at that. Now it's turning shiny already. Okay, it's turning shiny just that quick. So that paint just turned into a gloss enamel paint that quick. So now I'll just let that dry. I'll set that to the side, let that dry, and this is another reason why the cedar brick works so well, because I can just sit my hooks just like that, and I'm good to go. So now I've already had this one dry, and it's ready. I've already did one just for TV purposes. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step, which is you want to make sure that they're cool to the touch. So I'm going to put my jig head in the vise, and I'm going to close that and start tying my rig there. So now this, as you can see, it works pretty well. I'm going to first start with a little bit of white, and most people don't really understand. You don't want to put a whole bunch of jigs hair right on there right when you first start, and if you can, you want it as evenly as possible. I'll pull out the loose hairs and the short hairs, and then I will start this by putting my hair on there, and then I made a slip knot, and I'm gonna put that over the edge, put that around the jig head, pull it tight. Now I'm going to go ahead and start tying, and I'll make sure that I have this pretty tight along the edge. Alright, now I'll just make a few loops and make sure that that hair is on there, and then I can this is where the glue comes in. Just put like a dab. This is where about one dab would do. Okay, and that's gonna hold that hair just there. It's gonna hold that hair there. So now I can take a little bit of the brown hair, because if you ever noticed a bait fish has a dark on top and they have a light on the bottom, kind of color to their body. So now I'm going to go ahead and start tying on that one, and you want to keep your knots keep that pressure on that line, on that thread as you're tying. And if you can, you're trying to make your body kind of uniform, so it flows like a bait fish would. Keep the hair laid back if you can. It kind of helps the form, and it makes it look a lot more uniform. So as you can see, that's coming together as a jig, as a hair jig. And now I'm going to give it one twist loop here. You twirl your finger, you grab it and make a loop, and twist it about 2 times, 3 times, flip it over and pull it. And then you're going to go again. Alright, flip it over, pull it, and there we go. Now that I have my loop on there, I can go ahead and just put a dab of, just about one dab of crazy glue, and that'll hold that hair all together, that thread, and it'll lock it in there to where it's in a good position. So now, as you can see, that's one hair jig, and I can trim this if I like. Mostly what I noticed were the hairs were really long on those other jigs, so and they're usually a little bit longer on this. I had some nips on that, but as you can see, that's how it looks. Okay, so I'm going to try and get you the best view here, and look how that looks. It's starting to look more identical. And I can put my eyes on there, put a dot on the eye, and I'll be good. So that jig will catch a nice walleye. But that's just a start to get you from what to where you would like to be with making jigs. And you can try with different colors, different skirts. There's synthetic hairs that they have that you can buy and make different color jigs. So there you go. Another tip from Journey to the Outdoors. See you guys later.